Hello and welcome to today's Healing Circle. So today we're combining the Wands of Horus cards with the Life Alignment Protocol, and I have already done all the dowsing as always and all the prep. So the cards are in position on the chart. I have our information ready, and as always I have not done any analysis on any of the information, so we're going to do that together within the session. And then I'll do the balance during the session, and if there's anything else that I need to do after the session, I will do that while the recording is rendering. So let's start with our tune in. Our light code for today is the portal code, and let's find a moment to just tune in. So perhaps close your eyes, think about what it is that you would like to receive, let go of, bring into your life, or manifest or heal for today's session. Take as much time as you need. When you feel ready, open your eyes and allow your eyes to rest on the light code. Perhaps trace the lines, or allow it to rest where it feels it needs to be today. Don't try and analyze. Don't try and understand what's going on. Just focus on what you would like to heal or release, bring into your life, or work with in today's session. If you need more time, you feel free to pause the recording. Okay, so I just got the message that we have to drink a little bit of water, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to pause so you don't hear me gulping. Okay, so water is needed because we want to work with our electrical fields. If you need to take pause the video to grab your water, do that. Even if it's just a sip of water, we are working with energy, so we want that energy to flow into the system, and we want that energy to be able to flow through the system as well. Let's have a look at what came up for today's session. Let's see, where can I start? Okay, I'm going to start with, you already have what your goal is or your intention for today's session. In relation to this goal or this intention for today's session, the emotion that came up is die, like to die, and it's in relation to self-pity. So how does self-pity fit into today's session in your goal or your intention, and where does it feel like perhaps you are dying in relation to that? This is all in relation to beliefs. So beliefs usually come up when it's limiting beliefs. It's beliefs that may be holding us back. And it's beliefs around whatever your goal is or your intention, and death and self-pity. So just again pause to take that time to think about how these emotions fit in with your goal and with your intention for today's session. Very important that you make that connection for yourself. As always, the deeper we feel, the deeper we heal. The excuse or the sabotage that comes up in relation to this is, I am an orphan. I am not an orphan. So regardless if you are really truly an orphan or not, what does it mean for you to be seen or felt like an orphan? Like maybe you don't belong. How does this fit in with your goal? And how does this particular I'm an orphan, I'm not an orphan hold you back, this limiting belief of I don't fit in, or I don't belong, or I don't have a home? The emotion around this excuse or belief is imprudent, and it's in relation to quitting. So let's have a look here. Imprudent is when there's like no showing of care or for the consequences, or for an action, or making rash decisions. It could be seen as unwise or misguided. And it's in relation to quitting. So how does this fit in? And how does all of this fit in with to die and self-pity? Again, just find where those are for you. Next, we have our body points that we want to just get into the system. Our first body point is the left eye. I'm going to take my glasses off for this one. We need 4 fingers that you're going to put in like a diamond shape, and that's going to go around the eye. So corner of the eye, top of the eye, and just under the eye. So just put all 4 fingers around the eye. And once you've got that, just tap just behind the hairline. Tap, tap. That's just to place that in. The left eye is about looking into the future. So perhaps it is that you can't see a way out, or perhaps it feels like you're blinded. There's no, like, you can't see a solution or something like that. Next, we have visual learning. Visual learning, you can maybe take your thumbs and put that just in the middle of the brow, and then you can put the middle fingers or index fingers or any finger that's going to reach there on the crown. So that's the hold. Once you've got that, tap that in, tap, tap. So visual learning is learning through, obviously, what we see. So this is about when someone tries to teach you something, like this may even go way back to childhood. Your parents may have said, this is what is right or this is what is wrong. But then when you look at your parents' actions, the actions would have been different. And so that creates a dissonance. And so what did you learn? What habits did you learn by observing others? And then our last point for today, we only have 3, is electromagnetic. It's just 1 finger and it's just under the hairline. So you just hold there and tap, tap. So electromagnetic is influences from outside, usually like things like cell phones, televisions, microwave ovens, radio frequencies, any electrode smog type thing that can influence whether it's your thinking, behavior, your action or reaction to situations, perhaps even things that may come across as allergies, and it's not really associated with food or with pollen or a cat fur or whatever you would normally associate with allergies, but it's actually electromagnetic frequencies around you that's affecting whether it's your physical body or your mental or emotional body. Okay, so we want to put all 3 of those together. We want to put all of them into circuit. So we're going to do 1 at a time. So we're taking our 4 around the eye. So just corner, corner, top and bottom. This is where it gets complicated. Now what we want to do is we want to combine our visual learning. So I'm just going to do 1 half of the visual learning for now. So I've got the 2 connected. Once I've got that, I'll put in the other half of the visual learning, and then I will let go of the 1 and then connect the electromagnetic, and then tap, tap. Okay, right. So now we've got all of our body points in circuit, and we're ready to move on to the next phase. In the next phase, I have set up, there we go, our Wands of Horus cards. I've got them on my big bob chart on the side, but just for ease, I've placed them on screen so that you get to see where they're all sitting. So our first card is Djed. That's the orange one sitting on the jawline, and that's on the neurological systems. So neurological systems is all of the neurology within our body, the nervous system basically. or the nerves. And Djed is about protection. It's a more of a feminine approach to protection. So it's a nurturing holding. So on a neurological level, it feels like we need some nurturing. The Djed pillar, that's the pink card, is sitting on the lymphatic system point. And so Djed is about structure. It's about grounding. It's also associated with the DNA and with restoration and repair. And so our lymphatic system is our plumbing system. This is what clears out all of the toxins within the body. And so it's almost like I feel that we need some repair on the lymphatic system so we can really flush out, maybe bringing some structure in. When we're talking structure, the lymphatic system does not have a pump system of its own. So it depends on your movement that you do, the blood pressure and things like that, and any sort of peristalsis within the body that creates a pump action that helps the lymphatic system to pump out. Then the Neteru card, that's the one sitting just under the jaw. It's on the throat. That one's sitting on the parotid gland. And so yeah, so this is about for me, the throat, anything on the throat is our bridge between what's happening in the head and what's happening in the body. And the Neteru card is the God of Gods. So we want to bring divinity into this bridge so that the communication that happens between the headspace and the body comes from a divine source, and that's a pure, clean, bridging quality that we have. Then we've got the breath card. That's the blue card with the feather sitting in the sort of in the center on the side of the spine. That one is sitting on the duodenum, and the duodenum is the connection between the stomach and the small intestine. So it's another type of a bridge area that we're working with here. And the breath is associated with, as the name suggests, with breathing. So usually how breath would affect our body. And there's been a lot of research done on breath work and how that affects our nervous system and our body itself. So here in this case, the duodenum, that connection between the stomach and the small intestine, that's our handover between where our food was ingested and broken down into the stomach, and now it's going to go through into the small intestine for further processing. And the diaphragm, which sits between the lungs and the gut, regulates, it creates like a pump action for both lungs as well as for the gut, and that could help with peristalsis within the small intestine and also within the large intestine. And so perhaps a reminder here for that slow, deep breathing so that we can get our digestion going. Digestive system and digestion is also about processing things that happens in the mind or thoughts. So processing maybe what we learn, what we study, and what we are picking up along the way, just in life in general. Then we've got the physical body, Khat, sitting on the joint system. That's the one sitting on the arm. The joint system is all of the joints within the body, every single one of our joints, wherever we can make some movement from. And the physical body card is related to the physical body. So I don't know if any of you have any joint pain. The card here is not specific to just where it's sitting on, just on the side of the arm, just below the elbow. This is for all of the joints within the body. So if there's any joint pain or restrictions within the joints, then this is talking about that. We have the Ankh, the green card, sitting on the sinuses. Ankh is about life. Sinuses is they form part of these canals that sits within your face and helps with resonance when we speak and when we communicate. Also helps with breath, and they can get clogged up, especially when there is some allergies around. Life, we want to have some clarity and clear energy over here, and if you have any sinus problems or sinus issues, perhaps this is talking about that. Then we have the Ankh card on the large intestine, just above the breath card. It looks like a big ibis bird. And the large intestine is obviously our processing system, where everything from the small intestine is then pumped through into the large intestine, and that's where all the moisture is taken out, and also some vitamin absorption like vitamin B happens over there. The Ankh is our immortal self, so this is part of the our spiritual bodies. So how would I process that one? The Ankh would be a combination of the Ba and the Ka, so it's like a yin and the yang. And so perhaps it is about regulating balance within the colon, so that the colon has the movement that needs to take, and it has the balance to take out what needs to be taken out and to keep what needs to be kept, and to keep toxins in so it can expel those instead of having those toxins spilling out into the gut. And that's sitting with the breath card. So for me, that'll take me right back to that whole breath story and the diaphragm. And then we finally have the air card, and that is on the electromagnetic point, which is just below the hairline. So I find it interesting that the electromagnetic point came up twice, and in both cases, for the body points as well as for the cards, it was the last point. So I would maybe interpret that as whatever issues you're carrying or that you're working through at the moment, and that perhaps is in your intention or focus. See how electromagnetic forces plays into that. Yeah, I'm not sure what your goal is, so that's up to you to make that connection. And if at any point you need to pause, then by all means pause. Okay, so we want to make some notes, perhaps journal about what comes up here, because usually in these sessions there's a lot of information that comes up. Okay, next phase is to take us through our emotions, and we have a lot. Okay, let's go with them. So our first emotion that comes up, and for these emotions, what you want to do is you want to feel them in your body. Or feel them somewhere, and again, if you feel that you don't have one of these emotions, or maybe it's not familiar, imagine what it would feel like if you were to feel the emotion. How would you process that? How would that feel within the system? Remember, these emotions does not necessarily have to relate to where you are right now. This could be to some time in the past. So it may bring up a thought or a memory from the past. Allow yourself to go into that thought or memory, feel it, and then we're going to tap it in. We're going to tap it in on the back of the head, so on your crown. So not in the front where we tapped in the body points, but further back. So our first emotion that comes up is icy, and it's in relation to wound. So icy in relation to wound. What does this mean to you? How does icy and wound relate to your goal? Perhaps if it doesn't make any sense, just feel icy in relation to wound. Imagine you have a wound somewhere in the body. If you had to put ice on that, what would that wound feel like? And perhaps just get a sense of what that feeling is like, wherever it may be in the body. Perhaps a thought or a memory that comes up for you. And once you have that, then just tap that in on the crown. Tap, tap. Next we have demon, and it's in relation to openness. I've got some weird words today. Demon in relation to openness. What comes up for me immediately is many times, like in society, everything has to be so PC, so politically correct, that people hold back on what they really want to say. And if you are an outspoken, open, honest, truthful person, and you just say what's in your mind, then you are demonized. So we are demonized for being open. Maybe that relates to you. So that's the only connection I could make for myself. but perhaps you've got a different interpretation of demon in relation to openness. Feel into that, feel what it feels like, feel where you feel it in the body, and once you have that, tap that in. Next one gets more interesting is suggested in relation to Kundalini awakening. So Kundalini awakening, Kundalini energy sits in the base of the spine. It's seen as that serpent energy that uncoils and moves through the chakras, and as it does, it opens up the chakras to an awakened state on top. Suggested. Is it possible that at some point you were suggested that you had to do this? Perhaps it was suggested that you've gone through a Kundalini awakening, whether you have or whether you haven't. Again, make that connection for yourself. What does that mean? Suggested in relation to Kundalini awakening. Feel what that feels like. And this could be a positive or a negative emotion, doesn't matter. Just feel what it feels like for you. And then tap, tap, crown. Then we've got macabre or gruesome. And this is in relation to speaking your truth. Okay, for me, this ties in with our demon and openness again. So where is it gruesome or macabre to speak your truth? Or perhaps you just have a macabre sense of humor, and that's part of speaking your truth. And how is that, what's the word, received in the world? Feel into that, feel what that feels like. And once you've got it, tap it into the crown. Then we've got regulate in relation to cooperation. I told you we had lots of words. Regulate into cooperation. So where do you need to regulate your cooperation? Perhaps you need some regulation. Perhaps you cooperate too much or too little. Where do you need to regulate that? Or what does that mean for you? Once you've got it, tap it in. Next we have anger, and it's in relation to rejection. I'm sure we've all felt some of that before. Anger in relation to rejection. Feel into that. Whatever comes to mind for you. And then once you've got it, tap it in. Next word is intent, and it's in relation to game playing. Intent, game playing. What does this mean for you? Are you a game playing person? Is this your purpose or intention or your aim? Or perhaps should you aim to play more games? What does this mean for you? Once you've got it, tap it in. Last word. Understanding, and it's in relation to relationship rescue. Understanding in relation to relationship rescue. So what relationships are you trying to rescue? And this could be now or any time in the past. What was your understanding about it? What is your understanding about it? Feel into what that feels for you and where you feel it within the body. Once you have that, we can tap that in. Okay, so now we want to put it all together. So what you want to do is we're going to hold our 1 point, which is the left eye. So make it like 2 corners going, corner, corner, bottom, top. Okay, so you're holding your left eye point. Close your eyes and just feel into everything we've spoken about so far. So just feel into perhaps the positionings we had of the cards on the chart. anything that came up for you, any emotions that came up for you. So keep holding that point. Eyes are closed. We're looking at perhaps not seeing a way out of your current situation. How you learn visually. How perhaps you are affected by electromagnetic energies. Perhaps feeling a little bit like an orphan or like you don't belong. We spoke about the neurological systems, the lymphatic systems, joint systems. Joints can also be about your flexibility to approach in life. Some of these emotions that came up were demon in relation to wound, macabre in relation to speaking your truth, the suggested Kundalini awakening, anger in relation to rejection. Just allow yourself to feel all of the feelings that you feel right now. Make them bigger, expand them. It's okay, we're not going to feel these emotions for long, so just really build all those emotions up, make them as real, as strong, as big as possible. And once you have them all built up, then we're going to tap just above the hairline again. Now we've got all of our emotions in our folder, if you want to call it that. And we can go ahead and work with our corrections and our balances. So the dimension that comes up in relation to all of these emotions is no perception, and it's in relation to regulate, in relation to cooperation. So no perception is usually coming up when we don't see the need for something, or we don't see that something is an issue, or it's just not in our consciousness. It happens in the subconscious mind. So you don't have to worry too much about that, no perception, but just that's our dimension that we have on top of all of that. I also like to bring in an archetype, a negative and a positive archetype when I'm doing this type of work. Interesting. Like I said, I did all the dowsing, but I didn't do any analysis. I'm doing it now. So when I dowse, I literally just go and I just put everything down and I forget about what went in. So our negative archetype we want to let go of is the orphan child. Interesting. We had our orphan. Where was orphan coming in? That was right on top of our emotion, right? That said our sabotage. I'm an orphan. I'm not an orphan. And so here we've got the archetype coming in, orphan child. And so this is about feelings of abandonment. And it could even be about inappropriate surrogate families. So sometimes we adopt a family, whether it's a real family or just friendships and things like that. And it could be that you've adopted an inappropriate family that doesn't really serve your needs. Or that's not healthy or good for you. So that's our negative archetype we would like to clear in today's session. Our positive archetype we're going to bring in, this is a weird one, is the gossip. And so when gossip comes up in the positive, normally we associate gossip with a negative trait, but that's why I call it weird. But when gossip comes up in the positive, it's about considering other people's feelings, which takes us back to that whole PC story that we spoke about earlier. So how can you speak your truth while considering other people's emotions? But the gossip is also about honoring trust. If someone shares information with you and they say that this is, please don't share it, that you honor that and you don't share it. I also like to bring in an Aura Soma bottle just to give us a little bit more background. And so the Aura Soma bottle that came up in today's session is called the Guardian Angel. So we've got pale or lilac over a pale blue. And this bottle is all about transformation of negative energy into peace. So it's about connecting to the higher frequencies, higher realms, perhaps to the realm of the angels or your higher self. So it's the non-physical, connecting to the non-physical in a very positive way. It could be for inspiration and support from above. So perhaps a reminder that you have your guardian angels around. You have your guides around, and that there is support even though you may feel alone at times. This bottle also speaks about finding your own divinity, finding your own God frequency within yourself, and then being able to integrate that into your life. So this bottle is about bringing joy and about releasing suffering. And there is an affirmation with these bottles, as always. And the affirmation is, I let go and do not expect anything. I let go and do not expect anything. I let go and I do not expect anything. Okay, that's quite a potent affirmation. So work with that one perhaps in the coming week or so and see what comes up for you. So before we get into the work now, there's 2 points that you can hold throughout this session and whenever you feel you need it. One hand on the sacral, one hand on the solar plexus. So solar plexus is above the navel, sacral is below the navel. That's one point that you can hold. Another point that you can hold is one hand on the solar plexus and one hand on the heart. So that's on the chest. You could even do a combination of these. Maybe have one hand on the solar plexus and you can alternate your hand positions between the sacral and the heart throughout the session as and when you feel that you need to. These handholds are there to support the energetic work that we're doing. So I would suggest hold these hand positions throughout the next few minutes while we're doing this work, and then you can release them at the end. So we just really want to bring our focus and awareness to the sacral, the solar plexus, as well as the heart. Perhaps even doing a combination of sacral and heart, solar plexus, heart, solar plexus, sacral. Just allow your hands to move intuitively to those locations while we work. So close your eyes and place your hands into those positions. So choose where you're going to start, 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. So 1 is sacral, 2 is solar plexus, and 3 is the heart. Okay, so just closing the eyes. And I want you to tune into whatever you are feeling right now. Any emotion that you're feeling right now, just really tune into what that may be. It doesn't matter whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion. Just drop into that emotion and feel what you feel. You may even find that you've got multiple emotions running around. And that you could have some positive ones as well as some negative ones. Just drop into those emotions, feel them. And then we're going to extend on that. And the question is, how does this emotion make you feel? Which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, or just sounds like, but what? I'm already experiencing the emotion. How can an emotion make me feel something? But usually one emotion can lead to another, and can lead to another, and can lead to another. And some emotions are cover-up emotions for other emotions. For example, anger is a cover-up or is an explosion of an unexpressed emotion that sits underneath that. So whatever the emotion is that you're feeling, whether it's positive or a negative, how does this emotion make you feel? And if you don't have the words, that's okay. Go into the actual feeling. Perhaps it's hot, stuffy, heavy, dense, hard, whatever. Really give it a description and sense what those emotions feel like and where you are feeling that within the body. You want to spend as much time here as you need. So if you need to pause the recording, do that and just really drop into what those emotions feel like before moving on to the next step. Okay. Now that you know what all of these emotions are and where they are and what they feel like, I want you to connect with yourself, with everything of yourself, maybe your physical body, your mental body, emotional body, spiritual body. Connect with you, with your ego, with whatever it is that you consider to be you. Connect with that. And then once you've got that connection, I want you to go deeper and give yourself the permission to feel deeply whatever you are feeling right now. Really, like I want to always say, push yourself. Dive into those emotions, even if it's emotions that are not fun, emotions that you perhaps don't want to feel. Give yourself permission now to feel those emotions. Grab some tissues if you need to. Laugh out loud if you need to. Make sounds if you need to, but allow yourself to really feel that emotion deeply. Whatever those emotions are. The deeper we feel, the deeper we heal. Really, really allow yourself to move into those emotions. If an emotion is tough or hard, hand on the heart, hand on the solar plexus, hand on the heart, hand on the sacral. Keep the hands there wherever it feels that it's going to bring some more comfort. Just give yourself that permission to feel deeply. Again, take as much time as you need here. Pause the recording if you have to. Allow yourself as much time as you need to feel these feelings and emotions. And they won't kill you. And they will subside, but just allow yourself to feel. Our next question is taking us to the polar opposite. What does it feel like to feel nothing? How does it feel to be completely numb? And now I invite you to move into that nothingness, feeling nothing, feeling numb, feeling quiet. What does that feel like? Now, if you're still struggling with feeling nothing here, you may have to go back 1 or 2 steps just to the previous ones and really allow yourself to sit with those feelings. Because now we want to get into that numb, quiet, no-thing space where you feel nothing. And again, you're welcome to stay in this space of no-thingness for as long as you like. Pause the recording if you need to. If any emotions crop up, just go back 1 or 2 steps and go through that process again of feeling the emotions, really feeling them until they feel like they've tethered out, and then you can come back to the no-thingness or nothingness space. And when you feel that you've been in the space of nothingness, numbness for a while, then I want you to imagine yourself in a safe place. This is your safe place. This could be a real or an imagined place. So using all of your imagination, see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, experience this space. This is your safe space. Really experience what it's like. If you are journaling and you are making notes, perhaps write down what the place looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, what colors are there. Is this a real or imagined place? And just know that within the space, only you can get into the space. Any other energies coming into this space can only come in here if you invite them in. And whatever and whoever it is that you invite into the space have to obey you and have to follow your rules and your safety protocols, because this is your safe space. Once you have your safe space in place, perhaps you want to see yourself surrounded with a cocoon of light just to add extra safety or energy or protection, or a sacred space. And then I want you to invite in an ancestor, or maybe even a few ancestors. Any ancestor that could potentially help you with your goal or your intention or the healing work today. Who is the ancestor that's coming in for you? Perhaps greet the ancestor. Ask any questions here. Ask any help that you need here. Have a conversation. Maybe find a comfortable spot within your sacred safe space where you can sit down and you can have communion with your ancestor. If there's anything you want to let go of that does not belong to you, that actually belongs to the ancestral line, give that back to the ancestor. Whatever feels appropriate and clear for you over here. If there's any questions that you have to the ancestor, do that. Perhaps bringing your attention back to your intention and your goal, to our sabotage of I am an orphan, I am not an orphan. Imprudent in relation to quitting. Maybe even to die or death in relation to self-pity. Take as much time here as you need. Pause the recording if you need to. But really we want to be in a place where when you're done with this work, you are calm, quiet, and it's almost like there's a quiet energy happening in the space around you, and you feel light and at peace. If you're not feeling that lightness and that peace quality just yet, you want to go back, work with those emotions, go through the same cycle we've done now. You want to keep cycling through until you get to the space where you feel free and calm and quiet. Beautiful. Take as much time here as you need. Okay. I'm going to move on to the final stages now where we're locking the energy in. And so you can keep your eyes closed for now. We're working with the Divine Masculine card and Divine Feminine card. The one is on the right knee, that's the Divine Masculine. And we've got the Divine Feminine on the left wrist. So left wrist is about your ability to have a grasp on the future. And the right knee is the ability to step out of the past. And so this is our correction points over here, and so we are just spinning these out. Both of them are spinning counterclockwise, so most likely pulling out whatever is stuck in the way. Next, we want to just do a poisons and toxins clearing. And so there's 3 points. If you draw a line from, so just take 2 fingers, line from the eyes all the way down to the edge of the ribs, that's your 2 points, and then equidistant above that, so forming a little triangle. You can just use, I use my middle finger, thumb and index finger to form that little triangle. Place the other one on the sternum. And then once you've got those 3 points, you can just tap above the hairline again, tap, tap. And then we're going to make our fingers point in. One finger is going to point in towards the heart, so a line of fingers towards the heart, and one towards the solar plexus. And so just pointing the fingers towards those 2 centers. Hold the fingers there, just beaming in energy. And you may even feel like your hands start floating a little bit away as we do. Pay attention to any feelings or sensations you may feel in your body or even in your fingertips or hands. Place one hand on the thymus, that's the upper heart. Just to make sure that the energy settles in nicely. And then making a little circle with your fingers, like that. Get them as circular as you possibly can. We're going to place those fingers around the navel and the other hand palm to the forehead. Just to do a meridian balance over here. Just to make sure that the meridians are flowing nicely, everything's in balance. Try and get your fingers nicely spaced around the navel. Last one, 4 fingers in a row on your glabella, so it's on that central point, and then the other hand up, floating above the crown. It's our body alignment point. Just to get ourselves into a nice alignment. If the top hand wants to move, you are welcome to move that around. Finally, you're going to use your middle fingers just behind the ears on the mastoid process, the points just behind the ears, and just press in to lock this energy in. And then I'm going to do one more, finishing off over here. Just keep the eyes closed. Breathe slow and deep. Just settling the energies, anchoring them in. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. As always, I like to give you homework for the next week, and there's 2 pieces of homework. Again, you can choose which one you want to do. Perhaps you want to do both of them. Perhaps you just want to focus on one of them. The first one is Feng Shui. And so Feng Shui, we're looking at your placement of things within the house, getting the energy to flow properly. So whether you are going to follow Feng Shui advice or tips, or whether you're just reading a book about it, or whether you just rearrange things to feel better for you, it's all good. Then the next piece of homework is Vinyasa Yoga. So this is yoga flow. So getting some yoga practice in where you can have some vinyasa or flow from one pose to another, to another, to another. I must admit, I'm not a massive vinyasa yoga fan unless you know your asanas and you know what your postures are like and you can flow beautifully with them. But vinyasa does not have to be fast-paced. It is something that you can do slowly as well. So you can slowly move from one pose to another. Doesn't mean that you've got to go do an hour-long vinyasa class. Perhaps it's just a 15-minute class or something like that. But see how you can incorporate that into your next week. Okay, so that concludes your healing session for today. Just a little something I wanted to mention. I've just finished my 200-hour Kundalini Yoga teachers training. So I am going to bring in one of our sessions somewhere. I'm going to bring in some Kundalini Yoga Kriya work. If this is something that you would like to see, give me a yay or a something in the comments or in the notes or so. If it's something that you like completely anti, let me know that as well, and then we'll see what we can do. But there's some really beautiful techniques, especially around breath work, meditation, and I just love the way that we can use these kriyas or complete actions to really tackle whether it's an issue or a focus or a goal in a very practical way. Absolutely love the system. So it's been 6 months of training, been intense, but yeah, I've got 2 more lessons left and then it's my exam and the finals. So by the 2nd of May I should have certification. So just putting that out there as well, that I would like to start sharing some Kundalini work with you all, and I will probably put those onto YouTube as well. So whether it's part of the healing circle or not, that look out for those. You'll be seeing some of those. So that's it from my side. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session. Take care. Bye for now.